serial killers have long captivated the dark corners of human curiosity, blending horror and intrigue. Their heinous acts, often shrouded in mystery and manipulation, leave behind legacies of fear and fascination. This list explores 10 of history's most infamous serial killers, unveiling their chilling crimes and the unsettling impact they had on society. In this video, we will talk about top 10 infamous serial killers, so make sure to watch the full video. 1. Jack the Ripper. The mystery of Whitechapel. Jack the Ripper is perhaps the most enduring mystery in the history of serial killers, a name that continues to evoke fear and intrigue over a century after his horrific crimes. Operating in the Whitechapel district of London in 1888, Jack the Ripper preyed on women, particularly prostitutes, in one of the city's poorest areas. His method of killing was brutal, involving the mutilation of his victims in a manner suggesting surgical precision, which led some to speculate he may have been a doctor or butcher. Despite extensive investigations, both at the time and in the years since, Jack the Ripper's identity remains unknown. The case's notoriety was fueled by the media, which sensationalized his gruesome acts and gave him his now iconic moniker. Numerous suspects have been proposed, ranging from local residents to members of the royal family, but none have been definitively identified. Jack the Ripper's crimes not only left a trail of devastation but also sparked enduring public fascination, inspiring countless books, films, and theories about his true identity. 2. Ted Bundy. The charming killer Ted Bundy's name has become synonymous with the archetype of a manipulative and calculating serial killer. Active during the 1970s across the United States, Bundy was responsible for the deaths of at least 30 women, though experts believe the actual number of his victims may be significantly higher. What made Bundy particularly notorious was his ability to exploit his charm, intelligence, and good looks to gain the trust of his victims. Often feigning injury or vulnerability, Bundy would lure women into his trap before brutally attacking them. His ability to escape custody twice and represent himself in court added to his infamy, drawing public and media attention like no other case at the time. Despite his outwardly composed demeanor, Bundy's actions revealed a deeply disturbed individual driven by sadistic fantasies. His eventual capture, trial, and execution by electric chair in 1989 brought a grim end to one of the darkest chapters in American criminal history, but his story continues to haunt and fascinate. 3. Jeffrey Dahmer. The Milwaukee cannibal. Jeffrey Dahmer, often referred to as the Milwaukee Cannibal, stands as one of the most horrifying figures in the annals of true crime. Operating between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer murdered 17 men and boys, many of whom he lured back to his apartment with promises of money or companionship. What set Dahmer apart was the grotesque nature of his crimes. His acts of dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism shocked not only his community but the entire world. Dahmer's apartment became a macabre crime scene, filled with chilling evidence, including body parts preserved in acid-filled containers. Despite numerous run-ins with law enforcement and close calls that could have stopped him sooner, Dahmer managed to evade capture for years. 4. John Wayne Gacy. The killer clown. John Wayne Gacy, known as the Killer Clown, was one of America's most prolific and chilling serial killers. Behind his mask of normalcy as a successful businessman and community volunteer in Chicago during the 1970s, Gacy concealed a horrifying secret life. Posing as Pogo the Clown at children's parties and community events, Gacy earned the trust of those around him. However, he was secretly luring young men and boys into his home, where he would torture, rape, and murder them. Gacy's crimes came to light when police discovered the remains of 29 victims buried in the crawlspace of his house, with several more bodies found in nearby rivers. 5. Aileen Wuornos. The highway murderess Aileen Wuornos, often labeled as America's first female serial killer, became infamous for the brutal murders of 7 men along Florida highways between 1989 and 1990. Unlike most serial killers, Wuornos claimed her actions were motivated by self-defense, stating that her victims had attempted to sexually assault her while she worked as a prostitute. Wuornos's troubled upbringing, marked by abuse, homelessness, and poverty, painted a portrait of a woman shaped by a life of hardship. Her arrest and trial drew significant media attention, with many debating whether she was a cold-blooded killer or a victim of circumstance. Wuornos's erratic behavior in court, including her angry outbursts and controversial statements, only added to her notoriety. 6. H. H. Holmes. The murder castle architect H. H. Holmes, often referred to as America's first serial killer, gained infamy for his meticulously designed murder castle in Chicago during the late 19th century. Officially named the World's Fair Hotel, the structure was a labyrinth of horror, complete with hidden passageways, soundproof rooms, trapdoors, and a crematorium. Holmes used the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893 as a cover to lure unsuspecting victims, many of whom were young women seeking work or visitors looking for accommodation. Once inside, Holmes used his castles designed to imprison, torture, and murder them, often disposing of their bodies in grisly ways. While he confessed to 27 murders, some estimates suggest the actual number could be as high as 200. 7. Ed Gein, the inspiration for horror. Ed Gein, a name that still sends shivers down spines, committed crimes so grotesque that they inspired some of the most iconic horror films, including Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Operating in the quiet town of Plainfield, Wisconsin, during the 1950s, Gein was not only a murderer but also a grave robber. His obsession with death and human anatomy led him to dig up corpses and use their skin and bones to create horrifying objects such as lampshades, clothing, and furniture. While only 2 murders were definitively linked to him, the macabre nature of his crimes shocked the nation. Gein's small-town upbringing, dominated by a fanatically religious and abusive mother, played a significant role in shaping his disturbed psyche. 8. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez, infamously known as the Night Stalker, brought terror to California in the mid-1980s through a series of brutal home invasions, assaults, and murders. Targeting victims of all ages, genders, and backgrounds, Ramirez's unpredictability made him particularly terrifying. His crimes were marked by extreme violence, satanic rituals, and a chilling lack of remorse. Ramirez often left behind satanic symbols at crime scenes, further heightening the fear that gripped the Los Angeles area. Despite the intensity of the manhunt, it was a group of vigilant citizens who ultimately subdued and captured him in 1985 after his face was plastered across media outlets. 9. Charles Manson, the cult leader of death. Charles Manson, though not a hands-on killer, orchestrated one of the most infamous crime sprees in American history through his manipulative control over the Manson family cult. In the late 1960s, Manson used his charisma and apocalyptic ideology to recruit disaffected young people into his commune, preaching about an impending race war he called Helter Skelter. Under his direction, his followers carried out a series of murders, including the brutal slaying of actress Sharon Tate and her friends. These crimes, marked by their savagery and symbolic messages left at the scenes, horrified the nation. Manson's trial, filled with bizarre antics, including his followers chanting outside the courthouse, captivated the media and the public. 10. Albert Fish, the Gray Man of Nightmares. Albert Fish, also known as the Gray Man and the Brooklyn Vampire, stands out as one of the most depraved killers in history. Active in the early 20th century, Fish targeted children, committing acts of unimaginable cruelty, including murder, cannibalism, and sadistic torture. His crimes were often accompanied by disturbing letters sent to victims' families, detailing the horrific fates of their loved ones. Fish's frail appearance and seemingly unassuming demeanor belied the monstrous acts he committed. His arrest in 1934 revealed a lifetime of disturbing behavior rooted in deep psychological issues and a history of abuse. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.